Today we will talk about dating sites. Why? I'm sure almost every adult registered on a dating site at least once in his or her life. Bonjour mes amis, it's Angie. Dating sites is a controversial topic. Some people think it is a good variant to meet people. Others are against dating sites because they had bad experience. In this video, I will share with you my experience of communicating and dating people from dating sites, from Tinder in particular. Virtual dating in social media gained frenzied popularity every year more and more, especially in times of remote work, when we all became much lazier and less social. For a person who knows firsthand what Tinder is and what it is eaten with, it was interesting to watch a new documentary called Tinder Swindler. The essence of this movie boils down to the story of a very arrogant and cunning young man, Simon Levive, who managed to have affairs from different cities of Europe in such a way that each new girl was ready to take multi-million-dollar loans at the request of her boyfriend. At first, Simon very skillfully and deftly lured his victims with luxury, beautiful life, brands, etc., so that no one could doubt he's dishonest. But everything secret is put explicit. It is psychology in its purest form, competent marketing, and hypnotic manipulation. After watching this movie, you will come to conclusion why you should watch this movie and think about your behavior. Of course, it's a pity for girls who got hooked on beautiful life. However, which of us wouldn't get caught? I'm sure those who say, "No, I would never give money to a man," are very deceitful. Tinder Swindler specifically demonstrates what fear can do to people. On the other hand, Simon became a family, a very close person for each of the girls, considering that they met for a year and a half. And when your beloved one is in danger, the threat of death, etc., won't you make sacrifices in the name of salvation? This is very tough psychological pressure. And fear is a very strong emotion. In combination with love and hormones, it can totally turn off your brain. Of course, at some stage, it would be possible to sober up, but it's very hard to believe in bed, especially when it affects a loved one. Documentary with real participants is very attractive, and such films are always more plausible than movies based on motives. It is worth learning to distinguish a fairy tale from real life and believe not only in what you want. Although, again, when you are introduced to people, given gifts, dipped into another life, how can you think that all this is a game? Simon chose these girls for a reason. Throughout his life, he managed to probe people's weaknesses, so he knew who to take and what to put pressure on. A person can be so slippery and thoughtful that you can't even open a criminal case against him. A man has done so many things and got away with it, while girls continue adjusting their lives to circumstances. Black PR works for Simon in the best way. That's what it means to be an entrepreneur from God. It's not Tinder's fault. It's about self-doubt and internal conflict. Such men as Simon can be found anywhere, in the bar, for example, when such alpha male signals you that you can be a suitable victim for him. It is more important not to be afraid of people, but work on yourself, on your inner core. Stories from dirt to princess happen not as often as they are trumpeted from different movies and TV series. And it is easy to distinguish a man from the wrong sphere by cultural level, degree of education, by speech. It is easy to distinguish a man from a rich family. Tinder Swindler is another proof that everyone wants to accept wishful thinking. My acquaintances with guys online began when I was 20. I had an ICQ app where you could communicate with people, but you couldn't see their photos. So every date was a blind one and you never knew whom you were communicating with. Once I began communicating with a guy of my age. He was polite, smart and intelligent, and our conversations were always easy and memorable. So after 2 weeks of our communications, we decided to meet in real life. We appointed the time and the place, and it happened that I saw him before he saw me. To say that I was disappointed means to say nothing. I was shocked. I tried to find a picture of that guy who was approximately looked like him. I'm not a fat shamer, but the picture in my mind was radically opposite to the real person. I lost my memory of what we were talking about, but the impression of the day stayed with me up now. Ironically, on my way home, my telephone was stolen in the bus, so that incident saved me from making up excuses how to stop our communications. Later, I began communicating with foreigners, and that experience was more pleasant. Maybe because we could not meet in real life? The aim of that communication was more for practice my English speaking than to get married a foreigner, though some of them proposed me. During my online life, I registered on several dating sites out of boredom and curiosity, and some of them are really curious. Today, I will share with you my experience of communicating and dating with people from dating sites. What concerns Tinder, I can say that it has a convenient interface and there are people who are real, and in majority they're nice. It isn't a commercial, unfortunately. In Tinder, there is such category of men who unsophisticated, and they consider a dating site as an cheap, straight, and guaranteed way to a woman they like. Such category of men always start their conversations with the phrase, "Hi, how are you?" And then they ask, "What are you doing? Tell me about yourself." Boring and primitive. My dear man, please be creative. Not as creative as Simon Levive, of course. Everybody knows that women laugh with their ears. And such a phrase, "Hi, how are you?" kills any chance for happy ending. Besides, it shows that a man doesn't bother himself about dating with a woman, and he won't in the future either. So now I'm going to tell you about one memorable case of dating from a Tinder guy. Are you ready to listen? So get your popcorn. I get started. The profile of that man was very attractive. He was tall, athletic, and friendly, and our communication was also pleasant. And after 2 days of our communications, I wasn't against meeting that guy offline. Unfortunately, at the moment, I deleted my profile on Tinder, but I hope that you will get my word for it because I do not lie. So our last conversation was as follows. We met outside the restaurant and he was looking the same as his photos. Already good. What I liked in him is his sense of humor. Actually, humor is something that can win my heart. And what can push me away is greed. And it happened that these two traits somehow were coexisted in that man. Considering that that man insisted on a cafe instead of a restaurant, I assumed that he wasn't well off financially, though later I found out that we met after his workout in a fitness center, so he had money for himself. Well, as I remember, I ordered a piece of cake and a cup of tea. And to finally give that man a verdict, I offered him to share a piece of cake with me. Actually, this is the way how I check men for greed. Never fails. To which he agreed. So that was our first and the last date, of course. I thought it could happen only in Hollywood movies. Dear man, if you are interested in my opinion, keep in mind that the most disgusting thing in a man is greed. I do not take into account any forms of addictions because it isn't acceptable by itself. So what conclusions I draw out of my communication with men online? The first thing is that the majority of men on a dating site are looking just for free relationships. The second point is that there are quite a considerable number of married men who are looking just for sex. And the third thing, and the most important one, due to my observations, I found out that there are 3 categories of men on any dating site. The first category is men who are looking just for. The second category is perverts, of course, and the third one is nerds who aren't able to have a girlfriend. I would like to know your opinion. Do you agree with my observations? Please write in comment section. I wonder whether there are stories when people met their second halves on a dating site. Please write your stories, or maybe your friends' stories, your experience of communication on dating sites. I hope this video was useful for you. Remember that I love all of you. A bientôt!